Every day I am fortunate to log on to YouTube, look at the YouTube comments section, and see people posting their own theories. Same thing goes for every time I log on to Reddit as well as on Twitter as well. And I take time, I read a lot of these theories, the ones that people comment, the ones I get tagged in, as well as the ones I find on my own time. And there are some really great people out there posting some really great and really valid theories. And I want to give one a shout out today because this person comes up with a whole bunch of theories that make sense, and that person is Ava. I previously mentioned Ava in another video where she did a lyric analysis of Choker that was really good, and she comes up with a whole bunch of 21 Pilot theories. They're honestly so worth checking out. Go follow her on Twitter at GreatFantava. Yes, like Great Fanta, it's such a great name. And just read some of these theories. They are all pretty great. And this wasn't even the theory that I was originally going to mention because she came up with an Iceland theory that went so well. However, the Faerie Queene theory is just so interesting and so in-depth, and it might just be an actual thing. So much an actual thing that in no relation whatsoever, Nobis has even said on Twitter that 21 Pilots are literally remaking the Faerie Queene tale. So that shows you there's some way if Nobis even thinks so. And I originally recorded a whole audio thing of this her whole thread. However, that ended up being like a 43-minute thing. So let's do something shorter with video. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on when you're watching this. How's it going, guys? First off, I hope you have a really good day today. Now, this is going to be a shortened version of Ava's post, so make sure to go check it out down in the description box below. Go follow her on Twitter because she is really awesome. Anyway, this is the Faerie Queene theory. Almost said the Great Fanta theory, but it's the Faerie Queene theory. The Faerie Queene is an English epic poem written by Edmund Spenser, and it is 6 books long. That's right, a poem that lasts 6 books. It's one of the longest poems in the English language as a whole. Now, there's some pretty innovative ideas when it comes to like literary works. However, we're not focused on that. We're focused on the characters. So there are, in books 1 to 3, we focus on 2 specific ones: Red Cross and Britomart. That's right, if we take Britafilter and Walmart and smash them together, we get Britomart. But we're mainly going to be focusing on Red Cross. And by examining these 2 characters, we're also examining 2 virtues that are the most important in Christian life: holiness and chastity. And the whole Faerie Queene plotline is basically an allegory. So if you need a refresher on what an allegory is a narrative which nearly every element, including characters and even plot, represent symbols for something else, or a narrative in which a story itself is symbolic of a broader concept or historical event. And the one that is going to be obvious to everyone out there is Blurryface. Blurryface is an allegory of Tyler's insecurities, as we talked about in the mind control video. Or Ned and Trash, for example. They're allegories for Tyler's imagination and creativity. Here is a little character list. Arthur, the central hero, doesn't play a significant role in the actions of the book, potentially represents Tyler in the Dima storyline, I theorize. The Faerie Queene, Gloriana, never appears in the poem. Her castle is the ultimate goal and destination of most of the characters involved. The ideal destination, the place you want to reach but haven't reached yet. No one knows what it looks like properly, but perfect mental state life. Glory, success, and finding purpose in life. Red Cross, hero of book 1, stands for the virtue of holiness, an individual Christian fighting against evil. I think potentially Clancy, aside of Tyler, us maybe? Una, Red Cross's future wife, though I think the Dima storyline, she may not represent that, and if she does, perhaps Jenna. Archimago, the ruler, a sorcerer capable of changing his own appearance or that of others. The ruler. Blurryface, the hive mind of the bishops, masks, disguises. Dusa represents falsehood and nearly succeeds in getting Red Cross to leave Una, the truth, for good. Appears beautiful like the whole album and era concept, but is only skin deep. I mean, it's all there. Falsehood. Dusa in the Dima storyline either represents Dima or the propaganda itself. So basically the story is Red Cross and Una versus Archimago and Dusa. They are at an ends with each other in trying to separate Red Cross and Una, so that way they can stop whatever task they are doing. And yes, there is a dragon involved. So the dragon is weaponized against the Red Cross Knight by Dusa and Archimago. The dragon represents sin in the generalist term, and in this case, I had some of my own theory in this. From the reaction of the fan base, we're fond of the dragon. We're tempted by that sin. Trash. Now, trash is actually in the Faerie Queene book, because the Faerie Queene series was actually sketched up by William Crane, the same person we've talked about before many times on this channel, being the author of the children illustrations books where trash is based off from. Here's a little side-by-side comparison. It's almost like a mirror image of trash in the actual Faerie Queene book. So what exactly happens to the dragon in all of this Faerie Queene story? Well, the fact is that the dragon's belief that he'll easily defeat Red Cross is ultimately spells his doom. Underestimating Red Cross's resilience, the dragon ends up being blindsided by Red Cross multiple times. Therefore, the dragon partially represents the danger of overconfidence of assuring your own abilities too highly. The dragon is also a representation of a bit larger and notorious pesky amphibian, the infamous serpent that tempts Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis. By overcoming the dragon, Red Cross is therefore cementing his association with Jesus by defeating Satan and freeing humanity from the terror of sin. So the dragon is Zeus's weapon. The dragon ends up being slain by Red Cross, but is much more complex than that. It's a long battle, and as a battle of a person's mind. If the dragon represents sin in this story, but in the Dima storyline represents Tyler's creativity and imagination, does that mean that creativity is a sin in terms of Dima's policies? If so, Dima's gained control of the dragon, weaponized it against Tyler rather than its original purpose, a metaphor for being trapped in your own creativity and imagination, as our protagonists seem to be trapped in Dima, which was created by Tyler. They're using Tyler's own creations against him. The storyline also mentions Morpheus, which is the god of sleep according to the Greeks. Basically, in the Faerie Queene story, our heroes go and stand in overnight, and Archimago gets two sprites, and one of the sprites steals a bad dream from Morpheus and tries to implement it into Red Cross, and one of the sprites turns into a lady and tries to seduce Red Cross. However, that attempt fails. Then they basically morph into someone else, and the one sprite morphs into Una, and the other sprite morphs into another guy, and makes Red Cross disappointed and jealous that she was with another guy. He rides off somewhere, and basically they're always trying to stop me, that Nicholas Barbaki. He got no friends close, but those who know him most. No, he goes by Nico. He told me I'm a copy when it heard him mock me and almost stopped me. We're surrounded and we're hounded. There's no above or secret door. What are we here for? If not to run straight through all. I told my Taurus, but until that time I'll try to sing this. If I keep moving, they won't know. I'll morph to someone else. What they're throwing at me is too slow. I'll morph to someone else. I'm just a ghost. I'll morph to someone else. Defense mechanism. But you get the point. Basically, morph ties into the Faerie Queene storyline also because these two sprites are morphing into someone else, trying to get to Tyler, trying to get to Josh. After all, Archimago, much like Blurryface, has the power to change their shape and to change others. And this theory even goes into the burning snake that you get when you download the Artopia files. So basically, the snake is actually a serpent called Error. Error is essentially a monster, half serpent, half woman who embodies the problem of making mistakes. Red Cross and Una in book 1 literally wander into Error accidentally, and you might think it's a bit unfair, but just by making a mistake you get stuck fighting a monster. But hey, mistakes have consequences, and Red Cross shows some lack of judgment in the ending up with Error. In the first place, Error lives in a shady, dark forest, which is, in these stories anyway, almost always the site of shady, dark activities. Error's case is even more darker, and even since Pluto and his allegory of the cave has been linked to ignorance and illusion. So basically what happens is that Red Cross gets warned about Error's cave, doesn't listen, ends up fighting Error. They battle. Eventually, Red Cross wins, chopping off Error's head, and Error has like little younglings in this cave also, and with Error's head chopped off, the younglings go drink Error's blood. Then they eventually blow up. Great for a children's story, 1800s. That is fantastic. So Ava posted this to Twitter roughly the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st of April. And when Choker came out, she found a way to tie the Faerie Queene to Choker It actually makes so much sense. So, recap of where we are in the story. Red Cross has left Una because he thinks Una cheated on her, but in reality it was Dusa and Archimago separating the two of them so that way Red Cross can't do his mission, because you need truth, which is Una, with holiness, which is Red Cross. You need them both together in order to get stuff done. The power of friendship, am I right, guys? So, Dusa transforms into this very beautiful woman named Fidessa, and basically Red Cross falls madly in love. He thinks she's very beautiful, and they go on their merry way. They eventually rest underneath a tree, and Red Cross breaks off a branch, and surprised to find out that the tree is now spitting blood and screaming. Turns out our tree used to be a human named Fra Dubio. What happened to Fra Dubio? Well, he was with a girl named Falicia, and they were a happy couple together. However, Dusa wanted Fra Dubio for herself, so she turns Falicia into a tree, so that way she is just MIA, and so that way Dusa turns into Falicia. Eventually, Fra Dubio figures out that it is in fact Dusa, and he starts to run away, only for him to get turned into a tree. And we kind of see the story play out inside of Choker as well. Ava says, "It seems to me that the Josh we see in this video is a disguise to hide the true form of falsehood, which I believe to be a bishop, due to the theory that Archimago is hive mind of the bishops. This makes sense because the correlation between Tyler being drugged back by the bishop in jumpsuit and levitate, as in Choker, he's therefore also being dragged back by a bishop, only disguised as Josh." And after all, this is completely accurate, because the very ending of Jumpsuit is also the very ending of the Choker music video, minus him getting turned into a toy. However, Fra Dubio gets turned into a tree. Connection? Yes. The bishops want to keep Tyler to themselves, just as Dusa wanted to keep Fra Dubio to herself. In the Faerie Queene, Fra Dubio has his lady Falicia. In the storyline, Tyler has Trash, and the bishops don't like that. They want Tyler to themselves without Trash, who we know represents creativity and imagination, which is a threat to the original inspiration, his struggles represented by Blurryface, and further specified each of the bishops. Tyler, having Trash the dragon, his imagination and creativity, as a main source of inspiration, now a positive source, which means that he will no longer lean on his struggles, Dima, as a source of making music, taking the power away from Dima and the bishops, so they wouldn't be able to survive without Tyler's need for them and to inspire his music and fuel his creative outlets. Just as Dusa turns Falicia into a tree to keep Fra Dubio to herself, the bishops turn Trash into a figurine to keep Tyler for themselves. And Ava goes on to say that in the music video, Tyler then realizes that it is actually a bishop in disguise, and that's what kicks in his flight or fight instinct to take the Trash figurine and run out. Tyler in the music video realizes he's been caught up in a trap, realizes that it's not Josh but a bishop. So he grabs the figurine of Trash and tries to run away, just as Fra Dubio tries to run away, realizing Felicia's true form was Dusa. But eventually Tyler does not escape and turns the bishops him into a figurine, keeps to themselves, keep Indima forever, just as Dusa turns Fra Dubio in a tree to keep him to herself and keeps him there forever. At the end, we see the Tyler figurine stood next to the Trash figurine, just as Fra Dubio as a tree stands next to Falicia, the tree. So basically, you take the problem, you turn it into a toy, then suddenly the actual thing you want becomes a problem. You turn that into a toy as well, you put them next to each other. And a little nod to the original story could be down to the fact that the shirt that Tyler is wearing says "Tree huggers make better lovers." It's a little nod and wink nod to the fact that they originally got turned into trees in the story, not toys. Tempted by control, controlled by temptation. We see these in two music videos. Tempted by control is Jumpsuit, and controlled by temptation is Choker. And think back to what the dragon represents in the Faerie Queene storyline. It is the representation of sin. Now, as mentioned before, also with the demon lore, sin in the bishop's eyes is creativity. It is imagination. And so basically, it is a sin for Tyler to have his imagination. It's a sin for him to have trash. And in the Choker music video, Tyler asks, can I have this? Not can I buy this? Dima don't allow his creativity and imagination to be expressed. He is ignored by the bishop in disguise as Josh, and so he gives up trying. He won't be given trash. So he initially walks away until deciding, I'm going to take trash myself. And inevitably he gets caught, he gets turned into the toy, just like Fraudubio gets turned into a tree. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Faerie Queene theory and how it ties in with this new era of 21 Pilots. It is a really good theory, and I left out a lot of information here just to save time in this video. So if you want to do a deep dive into the Faerie Queene theory, go to Ava's Twitter, go to that link in the description box below, follow Ava because she did a fantastic job. And yeah, it's just such a great theory, and it was a really fun time to read. And it was a fun time to record that 48-minute voiceover, but yeah, it was a good time. This is a good theory, and I absolutely love it. Let me know what you guys think of the let me know what you guys think of the Faerie Queene theory down in the description box below. I'm gonna end this video, then I'm gonna go to bed because if it's not obvious, I am very tired, and my speech is starting to fail on me because I am so tired. It is 12:05 at night, and I woke up late before class today. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna go to bed. I'll see you later, guys. Goodbye. And good night, and more importantly, have a good day. You're loved and supported. Bye.